We're here with Kissy Sellout. Mate, thanks so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you.
No, it's nice to get you in here. It's cool. It's good.
Great.
It's a lovely day today as well.
It's fantastic weather outside. And I wanted to start by talking about your forthcoming album, Wild Romance, on your own label.
Yes, it can't come out soon enough, to be honest with you. I've been... it's like that famous Rolling Stones comment, isn't it? You spend half your career, you spend like 20% of your career making music and then 80% of your career waiting for it to come out. But no, I mean, it's all been quite a whistle-stop adventure, really. I think when I was doing my first album, it kind of took a long time. The whole process took such a long time, whereas this one's been a bit more quick. And I think it's because I knew what I wanted to do a bit more.
Sure, because your previous album, Young, came out, 3 years ago, and so something that struck me as well is you followed your first album with a live tour, and this one has got a very much kind of club radio kind of feel. Do you feel that's a kind of a fair comparison between the two?
Basically, my first album was about coming of age. Really, it was about the fact that it was like I'm here, I think, and also it was kind of naive and innocent. The whole thing was supposed to capture this kind of slight sense of innocence and stuff, which kind of quite well explained me, really, and certainly my presence in the dance music scene at the time, and the fact that actually that album isn't really a dance album, whereas this new one is completely different. I'm kind of I think I'm a man now. I feel yeah, but I think that it's I'm still here after a few years in this doing this, which is exciting. But I'm at a stage now where with things like the label and Sand City High and stuff, like, because I've got artists signed to my label and stuff, like that kind of old Kissy who used to be a bit timid behind the turntables and I am a nice guy and I'm naturally timid, I guess, but the time for that in public, I think, has ended, because I needed to look out for people that depended on me, and I needed to stick up for them. And whereas in interviews and stuff, when people try and make out that they'll be to pay me compliments of being an expert at what I'm doing and all this kind of stuff, it's like I find it hard to step up to those kind of comments. Whereas when I had people who were literally just they were just like I was a few years ago, just were like just little rabbits in the headlights, and they were just making awesome tunes, and they just needed someone to just take them through. I had to be that person, and in order to do that, I had to just step up a bit. And I'll be honest, I think it improved my DJ skills. I think it also improved my sense of kind of identity a bit more. I think I know I've got a much clearer idea now about what Kissy music is, and I think that that's why I'm so excited about Wild Romance. It feels like this really was the thing I was always meant to do, and it's not so much a regretful thing. It doesn't feel like I should have done it 2 years ago, because I couldn't have done this album 2 years ago because I'm a different person now. It's just that I've been lucky enough to stick around long enough to see it through to the end, and it's an exciting. It's really exciting. Really.
That very precisely sums up kind of, I'd say, your music from an observer's perspective, listening to the album and then listening to your live shows. There's always just so much energy and excitement, and that comes across particularly with your Fabric show not so long ago, whereas literally one track would come in, it would build, and then it would drop, and then the next track would come in, like mixing is like proper tight. Is that something that you have always strived for, or is it kind of, does it vary from show to show? No,
every show is important as the show before it. But I think, in fairness as well, like I practice a lot. I practice all the time. I practice DJing all the time. I mean, for you to say that technically it's quite tight, that's good. That kind of makes me smile a bit, because it's like, oh, cool, that's what it's supposed to look like. Because the quick mixing thing originally just came from the fact that I got so nervous being up on the decks that it felt like I had to just keep doing stuff the whole time, and I couldn't quite, I didn't, a lot of, famously, a lot of trance DJs or whatever, DJs like 100,000 people in Poland or something, and they just put their arms in the air and, for like 4 minutes, and then I never really had the guts to do that. So, and sometimes, a lot of my earlier gigs, it was so frightening just being able to look up, even though I got well known for being the person that looks up and put their arms in the air, but I think that's because I was so conscious of it, so I made the effort.
And of course, you had the opportunity to play to 10,000 people at Glastonbury last year. Yeah. Well, believe it or not, I've done more than double that before in other countries, and I think those are the things that have really shaken me. But I think that the reason I talk about my last Glastonbury being so great was because I think that, unlike, say, where I've also done other big gigs where I felt a bit like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to do my best.
I think that from the last year of me DJing, I feel a lot more in control of what I'm doing, and I think it helps that I had a lot of live recordings of myself DJing, and you know, I've developed my own style, this kind of rewindy thing, and using the 4 decks and stuff. But it has to be tight, otherwise there's no point in doing it. It has to kind of sound good as well as look good, you know. And I think it's wonderful now having this big visual show coming around with me as well.
Yeah, of course. Tell us a bit more about the visual show. Is it something just to kind of bring the music to life, or something that you've been wanting to develop for a long time?
Yeah, well, no, it's you know, one of the nicest things about it is that the lighting designers, no one who do it, they bang into my music, which is really cool. Like previously, when you kind of meet people, they like, you know, meet a lot of professionals or whatever, but who they're kind of just doing it for a salary thing or something. I mean, not that that's happened to me, but I've met people, you know, where that's happened. So to have some guys on board who actually bang into the music is a nice feeling, and then so they actually, you know, they actually, you know, they ask me what tunes I'm going to play each night, and ask, you know, and what things they can do to help and so on. That's like such a cool feeling. Also, I'll be honest with you, of course I've never seen the light show because I stand in front of the damn thing, so I've never seen it. But I've seen photos and it looks pretty. I've seen a few videos as well, and it looks pretty awesome. Which is a funny feeling. I think for me it's very important that it's very important just because of my old, I guess, you know, I'm such a fan of music. I like being able to demonstrate what a fan I am of other DJs before me and stuff. So I purposely try and incorporate this kind of old school jungle and garage way of mixing into my tunes, and I think that I did that on purpose, being an electro DJ, because I knew that there was loads of electro DJs out there, and I might as well embrace what was different about myself. We're in a glorious time now where everything's become so broad that I kind of feel quite on my own now. So it's nice to then have a team of people, not only on my record label, but also like a visuals team and stuff that come into gigs with me, because it just enhances the whole thing. But it's supposed to be quite raw. At the end of the day, it's supposed to just be a guy with just standing there at a table on some decks. And I think we even have something. We might even have like a little thing in the tech spec where it says that you have to be able to see my legs when I'm DJing. Because I think it's quite important. Like, because I just
quite ambitious.
Because then it's just a guy in front of a screen, and I just think I like that. That I like challenges like that. Make it all worth it, because I'm not the kind of guy that can just walk out on stage with nothing and just go look at me. I can't do that. If I feel like I'm putting on an okay show or a good show, then I'm cool with that. Okay, because then I've got something to do. You know, come on stage, right? I'm going to do my thing now. And what's been tremendously wonderful feeling is that, you know, seeing the gigs get busier and busier, and doing different audiences and having so many sellout shows, and it's just touch wood. Touch wood.
Nice work.
But yeah, no, it's been great. But I mean, as that's happened, you need to keep up in your game. I mean, I've, like, for instance, if you've had, you know, I often think, well, look, if you've just done a sold out show in some club in, you know, I don't know, Leeds or Manchester, wherever, you just think, well, next time I go back, I can't really just do the same thing, because then I don't know, it kind of feels like, I don't know,
it's almost like you're just trying to push it forward as much
never
as you
get
can.
too like complacent. You need to like think, well, you know, they came for that, and I, you know, they had certain expectations, and then I hopefully exceeded those expectations. This time they're going to have higher expectations, so I need to make sure it's better. And I can't, you know, at a stage now where, you know, I've worked so hard on my DJing, it's like, now let's do some other things as well, which is a nice feeling. But
and we touched upon the live aspects of your music earlier on to support your debut album. Is that something that you hope to pick up again along the line, or is it very much a club DJ focus from now on?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, it's I mean, the thing about my first album was that it sounded like a live album, despite the fact that it was all. I mean, it was the songs were co-written by me and my cousin, and my cousin was singing on it. But I did everything else. I mean, I think we recorded, some of the drums recorded live for about an hour, but that was it. I mean, the rest of it was everything, all the instruments, everything was played by me on that album. So it's but it sounded live. It sounded like a live album when you heard it. And whereas, you know, that's just not what this new album's about.
Sure.
Wild Romance is about is like the missing link between my DJ sets and my radio show. And I felt it. I think a lot of people who've followed me over the years have also noticed that there's a kind of a bit of a gulf between. It's like what, you know, like, okay, he's done that, and he's supposed to be a record producer. Why has he not released any records? And it's simply because of the things like the record label and and also just, you know what, like just touring as a DJ as well, like it's when you're making, you know, when you have make tracks like mine that are done with classical instruments and really complicated melodies and stuff, it's not even so much it takes me a long time to write the music, it's more that I just need to have a bit of time off and get into the zone, and I really enjoy travelling and stuff, so it's nice to, you know, have taken a bit of time out basically during Christmas when kind of no one was looking, and you know, and done a bit of design work and taken a few photos, and now having a new product on it, it's cool.
And something you have started doing off the back of Young is, of course, your Radio 1 slot. How much of an influence has that had on your music, or is that just a kind of a further aspect of your DJing and your career, if you like? Yeah,
I mean, it's the radio show is. I mean, I've always said that I always not only do I treat every show like it's my last, but I'm very aware of what a fantastic opportunity it is that I just try and do my best every single week on that show. But what's kind of happened is, I think as a record producer, is that you can often, I think a common problem for a lot of record producers is they listen to a lot of their own music too much, and I think that you start to get a bit cut off from what's around you. I think certainly in my earlier days when I was first coming through, although I don't think that happened to me, I think that I could see how it could happen, you know, because after a while when you're just doing remix after remix after remix for loads of labels, all you listen to is your own music, so it's but what's nice about having the radio show is that every week I have to spend a lot of time listening to other people's music, and not only is that an absolute pleasure and also a dream come true, so it's like, you know, I mean, if you told me when I was a kid I was going to get sent free music like every week, so much music I couldn't even listen to all of it at once, that would just be bonkers. I think it's so cool, but it's been a lot of like practice sessions, because my I think, like, you know, my radio show, you can kind of tell it's done by a record producer as well as a DJ, you know, because the scale of it all, the way that all the extra production that's done on it, all the extra percussion and everything, and which is, I guess it, you know, it's a new yeah, I mean, retrospectively I can kind of see how that was a new idea when I was doing it, but it kind of just felt right, and now I'm really proud to be in this position where people kind of, you know, I've got, you know, get a lot of listeners and it goes up every week, and I kind of just think, well, you got to keep going, otherwise I don't want to have a, you know what I mean, like I said about touring with the light show, it's like you've always got to try and do something big. But it's been a lovely like practice session, because I've got so used to mixing in pieces of classical music and stuff with old speed garage records and stuff, which isn't an easy thing to do, I tell you, it's not an easy thing to do, and I've, you know, it's I really do just spend so many hours every week working on that radio show, working on those edits. So when it came to making my own music, the thing I wasn't scared about was mixing loads of like weird instruments with like modern style bass lines and stuff. That wasn't the thing I was, you know, I think the thing I was maybe a bit, you know, hadn't quite figured out yet, I wasn't quite nervous, was just what the tunes were what melodies I was going to use and stuff like that. So that's a nice feeling. That's a completely different place from what I've previously been in. I think traditionally when you sit down to make a new dance record or something, you don't know what it's going to sound like when you finish. I perhaps haven't a lot in the past, whereas with this one I knew exactly what it was going to sound like before it was finished, you know what I mean? And that's nice about you know, from having DJ'd, you know, so many different places for, you know, a really lovely amount of time. I know what works now on my DJ sets, so there's no kind of mucking, and in that respect that's something I'm quite proud of with Wild Romance, because it's meant for people to listen and dance to it. Like, it's not meant for me to make a point and go, aren't I clever? You know, it's kind of like, well, you know, it's like it's 50% like kind of far out wacky ideas, but the other 50% is quite specifically like, it's like I know, you know, the structures of these tunes are how my DJ sets work, and it's like, well, you never get a breakdown that's kind of longer than a certain time, you'll never get a drop that's longer than a certain time. There'll always be something to dance to, and touring at the moment with my DJ sets and playing a lot of my album tracks in my sets without even having to edit them is a completely new experience for me, and it's exciting, but I want it to come out.
Yeah, it must be lovely to be able to hear kind of, it sounds to me like you had an idea of what the album was going to sound like even before you started it, so then have it, and it's literally just a translation as opposed to a project that's kind of evolved. Yeah, because you said that you put it together in quite a short amount of time as well.
Well, relatively short amount of time. I mean, track one took 7 months,
I guess you've got to start somewhere, right?
But if you hear track 1 on Rather Bands, you'll see why it took 7 months, because it's done with oboes and cellos and violas and stuff. So it's like, that's why. But other tracks on it took like 2 weeks. So it's quite a broad thing. But the whole thing was kind of rounded off over the space of about 2 weeks, where I got about 3 hours sleep. So about 1.5 hours sleep for each week.
And you're putting the album out on your own label, Sand City High.
Yeah.
Why is it that you decided to put it out on your label as opposed to approaching an established label?
I'll be honest with you. It's obvious. It's obvious. Like the music industry, everybody knows, is in such a hole at the moment, and one of the reasons it's in a bit of a hole is because of I don't know, like exuberance, or like too much, like, you know, people overspending and wasting money and stuff. And I think that something I've had the real benefit of signing to a major label and then managing to get away. And while I was at the major label, I saw how it all worked, and I saw things that worked, and I saw things that didn't work, and I saw nice people, and I saw a lot of not very nice people. But I think the thing I really learnt was that if when you're releasing a record, or especially if it's alternative music, which is what my music is after all, it's not chart music. It needs to be represented and put out by people who actually understand what it is, or people who actually like it, you know, not people who are on a salary to do stuff. And so if that means that I have to do all the design work and I have to, you know, do some of the mail outs and stuff, fine, I don't care. It's like, you know, it's not a hard thing to get myself to do. I would encourage, you know, I think when people are like young musicians trying to get through, they're always thinking about, can I get signed? I think it's less about, kids shouldn't be thinking about that stuff anymore. They should be thinking, I just need to get my stuff played. I just need to get it played. People need to find out who I am. People need to find, you know. So if you're making if you're in any kind of alternative or niche scene, which is the most exciting thing about music, in my opinion, that's where a lot of stuff comes from. Sometimes people, you know, moan about a chart record might have sampled something from, and it's like, oh no, but this guy did that, you know, 3 years before or something. It's like, well, yeah, I know, exactly, but don't complain. It's like, well, that's just the way it works. That's what's exciting about music. Ideas start in very small areas of communities of people, and then they go off and affect the wider mainstream, and that's really exciting. I can't remember what the original question was. That's terrible, isn't it? I was just straight off. I did talk for England. I'm sorry, I talked for England.
So can you lay any hints as to how your career is going to develop from here, or are you just going to keep doing what you've been doing? Seems to be working for you.
Well, yeah, no, it's very nice of you to say that. I think let's see how the album gets received, I guess. I mean, so far it's been wonderful reactions. I hear that DJ EZ is playing one of the tracks of my... And when I found that out, I was like, yeah, DJ EZ, all right. I was like, wicked.
So all young producers want to hear, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. I mean, I just take it every week as it comes, really. I'm not thinking about 2012 at all. Not because I don't care, but I think I saw someone tell it the other day saying that life doesn't happen all at once. So surely the best way to deal with this is to take one day at a time and make the most of it. And I think that that doesn't mean that I don't look at my diary for the next kind of week or so or whatever. But it's you know, what I'm sitting here right now talking to you, and all I've been thinking about all morning is sitting here and talking to you. I haven't been thinking about, you know, what festival I'm going to do next month, because that's just going to freak me out. You know, I can't control what's going on there, so I'd rather just, you know, do my best and you know, hopefully this dream will last a bit longer, I think.